This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast. Now, in this episode, we're doing a bonus episode to Bumblebee from 2018. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Nateflix Reviews.
All right, so we just finished the Transformers franchise 1 through 5, and now we're going to tackle on this bonus episode, Bumblebee. Nate, how long has it been since you've seen Bumblebee?
All right, so funny story. I saw this at the theater.
Okay.
Had a terrible theater experience. Like, one of the worst. I went to an early screening. It was horrible. People were talking. Babies were screaming. Like you couldn't make up a worse scenario to watch a movie in. And so I hated the movie because I was having such a bad time that I didn't enjoy it. Then I rewatched this with a friend of mine last year. Different experience. And then now I watched it for this. So this is my third time seeing it, but I didn't watch it for a while because the theater experience was so terrible that I was like, I don't even want to see that movie. Now I've had a good chance to watch it in silence, and now we're going to cover it.
Oh, there you have it. For me, this is my first time watching it.
Ooh, okay.
It's funny because when I saw the trailer when it was coming out, and I saw John Cena, I was like, "Hey, no way in hell you're going to need to see this movie." Anything with John Cena or Transformers, because I didn't like Transformers like that at the time. I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "No
double
way."
no."
Yeah, that was a double no. So I didn't see it, and then for the podcast, we were like, "All right, let's do it." So I watched it over the weekend. So let's have some fun. Let's break this down. But again, for those of you that are watching on YouTube and you're listening to us on the go, we got some structure here. We got the box office numbers. We got some Rotten Tomato scores. Then we give you guys our movie review on Bumblebee from 2018. Let's start off with the first thing on the agenda, box office numbers. Now, domestic boy, $127 million, right?
Okay.
That's not bad. International, $340 million for a worldwide total of $467 million on a budget of $135 million, domestic opening of $21 million.
That's crazy. I'll be honest. I don't remember this making that much money. Like, that's high to me. Obviously, it's lower than all the other Transformer movies.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn it didn't do that great. But that's not bad. I mean, even with the marketing, it still made money for Paramount. And it had half the budget, pretty much, of the last Transformers movie. So it didn't hurt.
Well, first of all, and this is a funny thing, because I was watching this with my wife, right? We always watch movies together. So I was like, it's weird because this was not the character I would want it to do first. I would love to see Optimus movie by himself, right? Because then you could just have Optimus and then you would have Megatron as the villain. But then again, I could tell because you would have been like, Megatron again? But
I would have turned it off.
You would have turned it off. But you could have had Megatron. You know what I mean? Like with Starscream, like his boys, the real boys. But other than that, Bumblebee, I kind of understand. Bumblebee, you can sell toys. It is what it is. But all right, so we got out the way the box office numbers. Let's check out what the critics and the audience have to say.
Boy, let me tell you, this thing's sitting pretty. This is by far the highest reviewed Transformer movie that there is.
Oh, yeah?
This has a 90% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. A 90. That is... almost everyone liked it. An audience score, 74. So the audience score is in line with the highest pretty much of the Transformers movies, but the critic score is 40 points higher than any of the Transformers movie. And I remember the first one had the best reviews and it was in the 50-ish range. So the reviews on this were like amazing comparatively to the rest of the franchise. Maybe that no Michael Bay played a factor. You know what?
It could be fresh take on it, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about it in our movie review, but it was like a fresh take, new writers.
Yep.
Because I saw a difference. I saw a big difference in this movie compared to the 5 movies that we just saw that we reviewed. So with that said, we got rid of the Rotten Tomato scores. We're getting rid of the actual box office numbers. We're going to get now to the meat and potato of the show, to our take on this movie, what we thought when we sat down and we watched it. We put on the Bumblebees.
Yeah.
Now, Nate started off with the lead character. Don't know her name, but Bumblebee and
Charlie, played by Hailee Steinfeld.
There you go.
I love Hailee Steinfeld. Let's get it out the way right now. I love her as an actress. She's great in pretty much everything. True Grit, great. Edge of 17, great. Haven't seen her in Hawkeye yet, but I've heard great things.
Oh, you'll like her. She's great.
Pitch Perfect. She could sing. She's funny. A little bit of everything. So I like her. I don't want to come off harsh, but I gave her a 4. I gave her a 4, but I can explain. to me, and whenever we're reviewing these movies, I always try to, it's an action movie podcast. So I do tend to watch these movies through the filter of an action movie. And as an action movie lead character, is she amazing? No. To me, she's not amazing. She's not a 5 to me because she's not, super heavily involved in the action in any sort of action capacity, right? But she is a great character in general. She has a nice backstory. Well, not nice, but sad, but nice. Like they did a good job writing it. And with the dad, she was really close with her dad. He passed away. She's struggling. She still lives with her mom. And you could tell she loves her family, but it's that thing of she's 18. She wants to be on her own. Her mom doesn't really understand her. Her stepdad, he doesn't seem, he's not a bad guy, but they don't really click.
Yeah.
She has the stepbrother or the half brother who you could tell she loves, but is like a brat, so it's the family dynamic. I think they did a great job writing that. I don't really love the they don't focus on the love story, but it's just kind of there. It's barely like it's him. Like he's in love with her and she's just kind of like, I'll hang out with you. I kind of respect it in a way. If you want to look at this movie from that perspective of like the girl is not just like falling all over for the guy. It's the other way around. He's like really crazy about her and she's like, I want to fix my car. But by the end, they have a nice bond. So I think she's a very good character, but for an action movie character, I don't think she's amazing. I do think the performance is really good. I like her in this. I gave her a 4.
Yeah, everything you said, is spot on. I don't need to add nothing to it. The only thing I will say is I gave her a 4. And the only knock that I gave her to deduct the point, I do agree with you. She is not an action movie character. The reason why I knocked the point was I am so sick and tired of somebody being an inventor or somebody that fixes something. Right. Yeah. And not to knock her. I understand they had to give her some type of strong suit here. But it's like, come on, we just got it with Mark Wahlberg. And maybe because we watched this, come on, guys, we watched 5 weeks of Transformers and then we're watching this on the 6th week. So we're pretty much heavy on Transformers. So we kind of know these characters backhand right now.
Yeah.
So you already gave us a guy that could invent and take something apart and put it together. And we're getting it with her. Yeah, she's a mechanic and she knows now how to fix Transformers, which she doesn't. But you can see she worked on Bumblebee a bit. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but story's already been told. I agree with you. The story of her dad dying, that was her motivation. She wanted a car. She got the car, just like Transformers 1. He got Bumblebee. He found it. Well, the other one found it in the car lot. She found it in the junkyard. Again, destiny. So to me, that's the only knock. It's just the same old mechanic storyline and the car. She found the car by luck. But other than that, she's very cool. She was very fun. She carried the movie, to be honest with you. Not many people could carry a movie, especially in a franchise like this. So I gave her a 4. Main villain.
Okay, so this is actually, spoiler alert, this is the lowest score on my list here. And it's not really low, but here's the problem with the villains. So you have John Cena, and he's part of the kind of Sector 7, which of course was late in the original Transformers movie. And we'll get into some stuff in story in a bit with the relation to the franchise. But Sector 7, an earlier form of it, he's kind of a villain. But to me, he's more like a typical military guy who doesn't understand this, like alien race. So he's not like a super bad guy. You know what he reminds me of? And a lot of this movie, and we'll get to it, this reminds me of like E.T. If you think about E.T., E.T.'s an alien. You got these government people who want to get him, and it's along those same lines. Like they don't understand. They all get scared and they want to take him. He's that kind of villain. And then you have the Transformer villains. I don't remember their names, but they're cool. The two, it's like a guy and a girl. One of them's a lady robot. One is a guy. He has that gun that turns people into like liquid. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was a good way to be able to explode people without getting like an R rating. They just turn into clear goo. But because I don't remember their names, I can't say they're like super memorable villains. So that knocks off a little bit for me. And then John Cena, he's okay. Like the more I see him in, I'm starting to agree with everybody. Like I don't really like him as an actor. I like him in the movie Trainwreck. I thought he was funny. And when he can just do comedy, I think it works. This tough guy, for whatever reason, as big as he is, it always feels like posturing to me. He doesn't seem like a tough guy. He seems like a nice guy who's just really fit. You know what I mean? I like him as a wrestler. Not crazy. I gave it a 3.5. It's kind of mixed for me, but I don't think it's bad per se.
Yeah. In terms of villain, I gave it a 3.5.
Oh, okay.
I agree just like you. I didn't score Cena. as the
Okay.
villain. Because honestly, in his defense, a robot just landed, killed almost half his people. He didn't know what the hell was going on. So he sees them as villains, right? Because the other Transformers was totally different. I mean, bad guys were going there to steal Megatron, to find Megatron. Megatron was already there.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the hell. He was training. This thing landed. It's a robot that could do stuff. He didn't know what the hell was going on. So I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
The two robots that landed on Earth, they were cool. I'm not going to lie. They were actually really cool. I love how they were beating the guy up in the moon. They whoop his ass.
Oh, yeah.
And then, he got the beacon from Bumblebee, came to Earth. And I agree. Now, again, we got the whole Decepticons working with the humans to find Bumblebee. It is what it is. They fell for it, I guess, again in the older days.
But this is funny because this is the first movie. John Cena says, hey, maybe we shouldn't. They're called He's the first one who mentioned the fact that they're called Decepticons. Yeah. And everyone's like, shut up. Just shut up, which I thought was kind of funny.
No, it was kind of funny, but the villains were good. They were good. They wasn't strong like Megatron. Like Megatron was just a beast. Like if he would have landed here looking for him, I think he would have destroyed everything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But they did what they could. I knew they were not going to use a big Decepticon from the cartoons or nothing. So with that, I gave it a 3.5. I didn't think it was like all that crazy like the other movies. Action scenes.
Okay, now I'm going to be completely honest. The first 5 minutes of this movie on Cybertron are better than like the action of the whole last two movies, in my opinion. That opening scene where they're on Cybertron and they're fighting looks just like the cartoon from the 80s brought to life. Optimus Prime looks way better. He looks like the cartoon. Bumblebee looks like the cartoon. Megatron looks like the cartoon. Soundwave has the tape. The tape comes out and it's that little cat. Like it is spot on the 80s cartoon done in like, I say live action because it's CGI, but it looks, it's supposed to look live action. It's freaking awesome. I love it. I love the opening. The opening is a 5, but then there is the rest of the movie. And the rest of the movie, the action dials back. Nothing's as cool as that to me. Like I thought that was the coolest action scene and it's the very beginning, but there is action in this. Don't get me wrong. You do have the fight with Bumblebee and the jet. I don't know what the jet is cool too. The jet Decepticon who's really big, who rips out his voice box. And then Bumblebee ends up hitting him with his own missile. And I like it. It was cool. I like the two villain, like you said. And then there's not a ton of action in the middle. It's a lot of story. And then at the end, there's the kind of finale action. And it's all at night in the facility near the Sector 7 facility. And like this little, like, I don't know what to call it. There's like water and stuff. I don't know what it's like. It's a facility, I guess. I don't know. And the satellite antenna and stuff. And it's fine. I thought everything else kind of brought it down a bit. Nothing in this is as if that opening Cybertron scene was like 20 minutes, I'd give the whole movie a 5. I'm not even lying. Like I thought it was that cool and looked that cool and was even, when Optimus is fighting, like this is how you shoot these action scenes. You could see what was happening. He's punching and kicking and throwing them. And like, it looked cool. So overall, I'm going to give it a 4. It does come down a bit when the movie proper starts going, but I still think there's a lot of fun action, in the movie.
Yeah, in terms of action, I went above you. I give it a 5.
Nice.
And let me tell you, Cybertron. Oh my God. Let me just tell you, I wanted to tell you so bad, but I was like, we were reviewing this.
Yeah.
This is how you do a Transformer. If we would have got this with the other 5 movies, I'll tell you right now, that damn franchise would have been Transformers 10 right now.
I agree.
I think people would have been flocking to the theaters, continuing going. That opening sequence, let me tell you, my jaw dropped. I said, this is beauty.
Awesome.
It was, oh my God, this is a perfection dish. I was like, Then I did like the action when they went to I totally agree with you in terms of all the slow stuff. But I do like the Bumblebee fights because you get to see his hand to hand. My man is hand to hand. I said, and I think what happened with the designs with the movie version, the first 5, was that since it was a blockbuster movie, they made them so big and clunky. Yeah, I think that's enormous. What happened because if you looked at Bumblebee now, this Bumblebee was slim. Mm-hmm. So his parts, like you could see that they literally went, what were the flaws in these 5 movies with these robots so we could fix it? And they did a great job because, man, he was whooping ass, bro. I said, this is how you do a Transformers movie. He was good there. The fight at the end when he fought both of those people, I said, this is good. he lost the voice box when the guy goes, you don't want to tell me what Optimus is? Then I'm going to rip your damn voice box out. And I loved it. I said, this is villainy, bro. Like, this is, I love that. When he did the human thing, I always have flaws with that because it always looks fake. For some reason, I don't know if it's the angles. I don't know if you understand what I mean, though. Like when the humans are like, right? And then the robot is in front and they shoot like a missile. It's like the camera is wide, top corner for some reason. And then you see the robots there, like they just splat them there. And then you see them going, ah, ah. And I was like, and Michael Bay did it too, a lot in those scenes. And I'm like, they need to, I don't know if they're going to do another one, but they need to figure out a way to make it organic. Yeah. Because he looks kind of, you could tell when they're doing all these shots, it's always the wide top corner or wide, but they hide them behind like a smoke or something to make it look like they're branding out. But anyway, I'm sounding like I'm freaking, like if I direct the damn thing. I loved it. I'm not going to lie, but it is all Cybertron, baby. When they show Optimus again, when he was like, oh, and he's shooting. I said, this is awesome.
There's the gun. Boom, boom, boom. And when those ones fly up and they shoot those missiles that go in a circle around the tower.
The side. And he slid down and he jumped on the guy with the wing and then he slammed him into the thing. And I said, this thing is such goodness. I was like, you got to bring me back to Cybertron. The next movie better be called Transformers Cybertron that takes place in Cybertron because, man, I think the theater would be packed. And one thing, though. Their faces looked amazing.
I agree.
They looked like so like the cartoon.
I know this is more recent than the other ones, but why were they able to stick so close to the cartoon design and colors? Like I said, Soundwave looks exactly, he's like purple and green or whatever. He has the tape, the thing pops out of him. Megatron is gray with the little, like, it looks like a little
red, red. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was spot on. Optimus Prime has the Autobot logos on his shoulders.
And the truck doors were the original. I said, wait a minute. I said, my man, look, first of all, he was a truck in Cybertron. So that means he didn't need to scan a truck to become a truck. He was a truck. And I was like, this is cool. I think, and I don't know, maybe you could agree. You might agree. The reason why they changed the way they look from the cartoon is because they signed a deal with Dodge. So all their cars are Camaros and
GM, I think, right?
And
General
GM.
Motors.
Yeah. It was GM. Bumblebee was a Camaro because he wasn't the damn whatever. He was a Beetle. So they changed everything. And I think because of those designs of those cars, they were like, we're going to have to make them bigger, clunkier.
And hey, Bumblebee was actually a Volkswagen Bug in this, like he's supposed to be.
I loved it. I loved it. All right, here we go. I gave it a 5. You gave it a 4.
Awesome. Yeah.
Storyline.
It's a great story. Look, I like this movie a lot. And now that I'm able to watch it without a screaming baby on my head and like all these maniac people talking and throwing popcorn, I like it. This reminds me of an Amblin movie from the 80s. I mentioned E.T., but E.T.'s a good comparison because you got the scene with Bumblebee in the house walking around, kind of like discovering this is the same E.T. walking around the house. And I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but there's a lot of similarities between those 80s Amblin Spielberg movies and this movie. This is a little more modern, obviously modern technology, but this is literally an 80s adventure family movie done now. Yeah. There's nothing gratuitous. There's like no cursing really. Like the language is pretty clean overall. You know what I mean? Heck, the 80s movies had more cursing, if anything. Pretty clean. You got good young character leads. You know, they're young people, a great soundtrack. That goes more to overall, but still the storyline is it's very well written. I like the characters, everything, especially I watched this after watching The Last Night, and it was so refreshing to watch a movie where everything made sense. Nothing in this doesn't make sense, unlike that movie. You know what I mean? Now, and then I'll let you go. The one thing I will say is I wish they didn't try to hold anything at all to the Transformers Michael Bay movies. And they do. Like the Bumblebee losing his, like Bumblebee could talk in the cartoon and stuff like that. So I don't know why they should have just went full reboot, in my opinion, because they look different, obviously, than they did in that movie. Bumblebee resembles, but he looks different. Optimus looks like the cartoon. They all look like the cartoon. So if that's the case, they should have just went full reboot. He shouldn't have had to lose his voice. He could have still talked with her. Imagine I get it. For some of the scenes, it works, like where she's talking to him and he just like hugs her and because he can't talk really. But that is a thing that was introduced in Michael Bay's Transformers. They didn't need to do it. The Sector 7, they didn't need to tie it to Sector 7 from the original movie, because then by the end of this movie, it still doesn't make sense. Again, because Optimus Prime is driving with him at the end, and in the Transformers movie in 07, he crash lands in 2007. So how was he also there in the 80s? So this goes with some of the Michael Bay stuff and not with some of the Michael Bay stuff, because Bumblebee lands in the 80s, not in World War II. You know what I mean? I wish they picked a full... It's like they tried to walk a line instead of just going full, just reboot it. You know what I mean? That's my only knock. I give it a 4. I think it's a really fun, entertaining story.
All right. I don't think that was Optimus Prime at the end, though. It was just a coincidence.
You think?
Because he blazes right by him.
No, he starts to, then they pull, and then they drive next to each other on the bridge.
No, but then he drives off. He goes, he just rams it. But I mean, it was poorly executed.
I think it's him. Yeah.
Okay.
Implied.
But
you could be right, but I don't know.
Well, okay, so storyline, I gave it a 4.5.
Okay.
I love this movie. I picked it up on Steelbook. The day after I finished it, I picked it up on Steelbook. Great storyline. I love the father dying. I mean, I'm not saying I loved her because she died, but I love that.
I know what you mean.
I love
it
the
adds
character
to the story.
Yeah. I love that the character had a flaw, and her flaw was that she couldn't dive no more because she thought of her dad. So she was vulnerable at this point. Her life was going all over the place because of her new dad and all this stuff. So I was like, that was actually pretty cool. Better story than Sam Witwicky, to be honest with you. I think so. I was more into her story than the first movie storyline. Now, Bumblebee's relationship with the main character, I liked it. Now, again, don't get me wrong. I do like Sam Witwicky's storyline too. It was cool. It's kind of identical. The only difference was this one was more heartfelt because she lost her dad and she wanted someone to bring her back to life, like she said at the end. So I thought it worked very well. And it helped Bumblebee too. I mean, he's not speaking, but it gave him character. And I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. 1987 storyline didn't work as much for me. It didn't take place, much in the 80s. It didn't show much of 80s in the movie, whereas other movies would have threw you down the throat of like flock of seagulls everywhere. It worked.
Yeah.
It worked well, but I don't know. It was just weird. But then again, it would have looked like Stranger Things with Bumblebee.
Yeah, people are too obsessed with making every single 80s reference. I like this.
Yeah, I could take that. I just extract it out. I liked it. Now thinking about it, I kind of liked it more. John Cena was not a cornball, but I still do not like him as an actor. It just doesn't help. I think he worked in this movie. Like I told my wife, John Cena in this movie proved to me that he could have been Duke in G.I. Joe because he looks like Duke. And I said, you know what? You throw his ass like Duke, and then you got The Rock as whoever he was, and you could bring back whoever the hell you want. But I was like, he's Duke. I looked at him, he said, my man is Duke. So I was like, okay, that would have been cool. But in this movie, he's no cool. I thought he was just decent. He wasn't corny like in Fast 9. Oh my God, I couldn't take him in the screen for Fast 9. I'm trying to look at my notes.
Way better in this than in that.
Yeah, he was way better in this one than that one. The action sequences was very well done. So the story, like in a nutshell, storyline was the strongest in any other Transformers movie ever. And at least they explained Cybertron. In the beginning, in the middle, Cybertron was explained. We did not go to the Knights of the Round Table. We didn't go to the moon with JFK. Yep, we didn't go to like all these buffoon freaking landmarks just to tell us that Cybertron was under attack and they were here for many years. So that was good. I agree with you 100%. The damn flaw is that this movie is from 87. My man Bumblebee fought World War II against the Nazis with some other robot, which didn't even give him love. I was like, damn. I was like, the other robot next to him didn't get love.
They cannot tie this to that because of the rest of the movies.
I have a feeling that this movie is specifically for 1, 2, and 3. That is it.
I could agree with that. agree with that.
I think
if that's the case, then it's okay.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. But even then, if that is Optimus Prime at the end, that doesn't work.
I don't think it is, but we will assume, to you it will assume, I don't think it's an Optimus Prime because he didn't come out at the end going,
I'm Optimus Prime and I'm going to defend my friends.
Yeah. And if you get this message, We found our home.
And then Lincoln comes on.
I, Optimus Prime, bows to,
Why did the first 4 movies end with the same? Pretty much said the same.
I think he did it in the 5th movie too. Yeah.
Pretty much says the same thing. We are here on Earth. we will stay here on Earth, even though they hate us.
Yeah.
We will love them. Yeah.
But it's always the same thing. I, Optimus Prime.
We know your name, Jack. We've been watching you for 30 hours already. Don't introduce yourself one more time, you freak.
I will punch you in the screen. Like, yeah, that was too funny. But anyway, this movie doesn't end with like a message to the people.
Thank God.
Which I'm so happy. And then Lincoln Park again towards the end. We didn't get that. But overall, look, 4.5. Overall.
4.5, actually. 4.5 for me on an overall. I really, really enjoy this movie. And it's funny, I didn't give anything a 5. This is one of those movies where, to me, nothing was a 5, but on the whole, everything works. And so it's like a 9 out of 10 for me. I think, for me, this is probably my second. I still love the original Transformers movie. I have a more nostalgia for it. I do think it's like a really good. I love the action in it. But this is the second best Transformers movie, hands down. And it could be the best. It really depends on who you ask. I do think this has less flaws than any of the Michael Bay movies. And that's why it's reflected in the, in the critics' reviews of it. It got a really high score. So I do think it's a really, really solid movie. I do think it leans a little more family, kiddie. It's not a kid's movie per se, but more so than the original movies, right? They're a little darker, a little more violent, a little more gritty. There's no grit in this movie. This is pure cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon style. But guess what? The Transformers, it was toys first, but it's a Saturday morning cartoon, essentially. Yeah. So it works. It works for the property. I think they nailed the Transformers property better than Michael Bay did. Do I still like that a couple of those movies? Yes. But is this more accurate to the cartoon? Yes. So I think it's a really great movie. I love the soundtrack. And to your point, like I mentioned, I love that they don't cram every 80s reference that they can possibly think of down your throat. I hate when movies choose and this only happens with the 80s. When they set a movie in the 80s, they think they have to show you every single 80s thing that they could possibly think of. It's like, bro, we get it. You're in the 80s. Just have people dress that way, have the soundtrack reflect it, the cars reflect it, right? You have 1 or 2 references here, but it does not have to be every single thing in the 80s. You know what I mean? And the same, and this doesn't happen as much with 90s set movies or 70s set. They just do, maybe some disco music and outfits, but it's just for whatever reason, the 80s always try. So I actually like that they don't shove it down your throat. Like, this is the 80s. You know it is. You get the vibes. You get a great soundtrack. A lot of good songs in this movie. I love the Sam Cooke scene when they're in the garage. I thought that was very sweet when she's playing the record and everything like that. Yeah, great flick. And you know what else? It's cool. Dylan O'Brien, of course, the voice of Bumblebee in this, the little bit that he gets to talk. They got a very famous, I know a lot of young people really love him. And I love that her mom, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if did you ever watch the show King of the Hill, the old cartoon? Mm-hmm. But her mom, it was of course the voice of Bobby from King of the Hill, the son. Okay. So if you now ever go watch a clip of King of the Hill, that's her mom that does that voice. So every time I hear her talk, I think of Bobby from King of the Hill. So it's kind of weird, but I like the family. I like the movie. It's great. Not 4.5 for me.
Look, I'm with you. Optimus Al gives it a 4.5. So
we are on Earth and we give it a 4.5.
Yes. If you hear me, I give this a 4.5. Optimus Al.
If you hear me.
No, if you get this message, 4.5. Anyway, this movie had everything that I wanted in a Transformers movie. I'm going to be dead ass with you, man. It had heart. It did not have dirty old man Bay cameras. Like, the girl was not showing her butt. It wasn't no stupid sexual innuendo nowhere. We didn't have robots that had sexual innuendo. They didn't have stupid corny.
They didn't have balls.
They didn't have balls. They didn't have metal balls. Yeah. And again, we didn't have corny jokes. We didn't have innuendos for certain aspects. They didn't have racial robots.
No racial robots who can't read.
Yeah.
Leg humper robots.
Yeah, so everything was on point. It was a true film. I loved it, and maybe you agree. maybe because the theme was 80s, it felt very Steven Spielberg, like Goonies.
Heck yeah.
Very, I didn't see E.T., but...
it's an Amblin. This is essentially an Amblin film that was made now.
It felt very that time period, but with a Transformers, which worked very well. Like, they took the car. Imagine a Turtles movie with this type of formula. A Ninja Turtles movie, right? You have April O'Neil. You got the Ninja Turtles set in a time like this where, again, I didn't see all the new Turtle movies, but I've seen the first one, and what drew me away from it, that it was way too modern-ish. It was like they were there. There wasn't the identities that I knew from them. They were too modern, and I was like, this is not working for me. It took me away from the Turtles because I like the Turtles, and I was like, this doesn't even work. And CGI did not work for me.
If they made a Ninja Turtle movie like this,
I know you have every box set
times at the theater. I'd go in, see it, and then get another ticket and then watch it right again.
I know. After. They would have pizza.
I'd love it.
Oh, Michael, let's go.
Cowabunga! They start high-fiving everybody.
Imagine you going to the teller, right? Excuse me, sir, what are you here to see? Cowabunga, dude!
Yes, I'll wear a Ninja Turtle shirt and then change to another Ninja Turtle shirt in between movies.
Yeah,
I would love it. But yeah, okay.
Like the idiot that when I went to see Ghostbusters, he was like, "What are you here to see?" And I had my Ghostbusters shirt on. I was like, "Dude, are you really kidding me? I have a Spangler shirt."
I'll give you one guess.
Yeah, I was like, "Hello." It is what it is. I mean, I had people on the line. I was like, "Dude, what the hell do you think I'm going to see Space Jam?" Like, duh. Anyway, this movie was freaking awesome. It was great. Had a great message across. I love Bumblebee. I'm gonna be honest, dude. This is the best Transformers movie that we see. We've seen all 5. This is the 6th. I will put this ahead of the first 5. And if I had to rank them, it would be 1, 4, 3, and then 2. It will be, and then 5. I think if I had to, I think that I will rank those because I like Age of Ultron, Extinction. I like that one. The first Marky Mark one was. I like that one. I thought that was pretty cool. The action was really good in that one.
I would rank them 1, this. 3, 4, 2, 5. It used to be 2 last, but 5. 5 is worse.
5, 2. Yeah, 2 is never sit through that again.
2 is an Oscar winner compared to 5.
It's a best picture knob. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is. Okay, 4.5. What's your total points?
Yeah, so total for me comes out to a 20 out of a 25. A very, very, very entertaining, great movie, great looking 4K. I know you streamed it the first time, right? Wait till you pop that disc. Looks nice, my man. Looks real nice, especially that Cybertron. But watch the Cybertron and then turn it off.
I don't think I will turn it off.
Just rewind it. Yeah, great looking disc. But 20 out of 25. I really enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I give it a 21.5. I am so shocked that I love this one more than the actual Transformer movies. But you know what? This one had no fluff. It was just straight story, action, Transformers. We go home. The other ones were action, story, action. 2 hours.
And this one's
later,
under 2 hours. It's less than 2 hours long.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank God. It's only like an hour and 50 minutes.
And it didn't feel 8 hours. It flowed. I mean, I was like, wow, this movie is quick. So other than that, 21.5 for me. You gave it a 20.
So real quick, before we go now, I know this is because this is a bonus episode, but there is a new Transformers movie coming out. Okay.
Is there?
It's not what you want. Yeah. It's not what you want. It's not the Cybertron, but it's called Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Now, to my understanding, they are including like the Beast Wars versions of Transformers. So as far as the cast now, I kind of like this. Peter Cullen coming back as Optimus Prime. I don't think anyone else can play him as long as he's alive. He will be, I am Optimus Prime. I am on Earth and I'm here with my friends. But as Optimus Primal, who if you know of Beast Wars, he was like a gorilla pretty much. Ron Perlman. And I love me some Ron Perlman. Okay. Give me Ron Perlman doing a voice of anybody. Of course, if you don't know Ron Perlman, he's Hellboy. He does the voiceovers for the UFC fights. He's got a big commanding voice. So that's cool. And then other than that, it's a lot of people I don't know. And it does have Anthony Ramos from In the Heights. And this one is set in the 90s. I do know that much.
Oh, so you play like the Ricky Martin robot?
He's gonna be. I don't know if I think he's a human character. I think he's playing Ricky Martin.
So is this live action?
It's live action, and it's set in the 90s. And that's all I know. Nope, it's kind of under wraps. So I'm going to hold out hope because Bumblebee turned out really good. And Michael Bay is not directing this one. So maybe fresh eyes will keep making these Transformers movies better than Michael Bay doing it.
The only thing I will say is to add it before we wrap it up is that I'm afraid because what worked with this movie, it was one hero, two villains. That made me sound like it was going to be like 20 more robots
characters again. Yeah.
plus 100 villains, and then we're getting back Michael Dirty Man Bay coming back.
We're not getting Michael Bay. Oh, but I get what you mean as far as in the way it's told. Yeah, I don't know. There's only 2 voice listed, so I don't know who else is in it. But I'm cautiously optimistic because of Bumblebee, to be honest.
Hey, I mean, look, we never know until those trailers drop. But if I see more than one hero and villain,
it probably will be. Yeah,
it's going to be a 10-hour movie.
If Megatron is back. No, I'm not even mad if Megatron is back. As long as this has nothing to do with the Michael Bay movies, Megatron could be back. Because he was in Bumblebee for like 2 seconds, and that's fine.
He was sounding menacing, too. I loved it. He was like,
Yeah.
Bumblebee. I was
That's
like, yes!
Megatron right there.
Yeah, all right. There you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. Nate is going to give you what's lining up.
Yeah, so coming up next, of course, Superman. Very excited. Haven't seen some of them. I actually haven't seen 3 of the 7 that we're watching. So looking forward to doing the Superman series. And of course, Black History Month, Equalizer 2. That will be our next in that series of movies.
There you guys have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Of course, you guys could follow us on Instagram. Follow Nate over at Instagram at NateFlix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friend called NateFlix Movie Reviews. Anything action movie, guys, you can follow us on YouTube at www.youtube.com/levelsofgeeks. We're going to have all our video versions of the podcast there for you. And if you guys are taking us on the go, you can find us as Action Movie Guys on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Spotify. And of course, TuneIn Radio or anywhere you listen your podcast on, any platform you listen to your podcast on. And of course, Twitter. Yeah, we're on all of them. And of course, on Twitter at Levels of Geeks. We are heavy there. And of course, he is your host,
Nate from NateFlix Reviews.
I'm his co-host, Alex Figueroa. Be awesome to each other and geek out.